shots. He had 105-degree temperature. 3 days later, he had a full body rash all up and down. I called the pediatrician's office, but I never brought him in there. But he had had all these symptoms, including staring, which we later found out was absent seizures. He began to lose some things and really level off in others, but he was a crazy person, could climb anything, so we thought he just wanted to climb, so you kind of brush it off. And then after his 18-month shots, which were the DTaP and polio, inactivated polio, and the next day he stopped wanting to follow his sister around, and he started losing all of his skills very rapidly. And then every time he gets sick, very immune related, very viral related, he would lose more. He would lose more symptoms. So he is a regressive case. Even his neurologist at 8 years old, when we went to see him again for seizures, because the first neurologist was inept, believed it also was tipped off by MMR. So if you have any questions for me regarding that, I'm going to pass the mic over to somebody who was able to recover her son from the same situation, which is, priceless information for a mom like this.
Hi everybody, my name is Mary Romanis. I live here in Massachusetts. I am also the chapter coordinator for Talk About Curing Autism, Massachusetts chapter. So I wrote a book called Victory Over Autism. And it's not just our story, it's a story about how other families get through this. And I'm not just talking about fully recovering their child, but I'm talking about how we collectively get through the really bad days and find the answers for our family. So my son was diagnosed at the age of 16 months initially, 18 months formally, and then he had 2 other subsequent neurology diagnosis. 3 psychologists, a psychiatrist also diagnosed him with severe autism. I was given the worst prognosis, which is the no hope, no cure, so don't bother. Take your kid home and love him. He'll probably be in a group home probably by the age of 12. Maybe he can go a little longer, but that was the prognosis that was given to us. And really, in spite of that prognosis, it wasn't that wasn't even the worst part. It was watching your kids suffer and in pain. So the point is that with that battle cry within me about my kid, we started to do the research. And my son was affected by the MMR, Varivax, and polio all on the same day. 105 fever within hours, lost him, 2.5 years of diarrhea. We had to rebuild his immune system, and we did a lot of work, and by the age of 4, he was declared asymptomatic from autism. So he had it. Trust me, it was very. But you have to know, for those of us who have a recovered child, we don't use the word cured because you're never done. You're always continuing to repair the damage that autism left behind and the mopping it up. So, but for all intents and purposes, he's now 17. He's going into his senior year of high school. We are college bound. So we've got, he's got no IEP, no 504, high honor roll. He's doing really well, and that's the message, is that as you repair your child's immune system from the damage that the vaccines left behind, then
we're gonna watch Finding Nemo here in a minute.
Okay, I'll let you go.
No, we're gonna get them to shut that off.
So that's our story. So hopefully, I have a lot of background on all of this, some of the vaccine history here.
I'm Mark Blaxell. I was introduced to the movie. Why don't we start with the question?
Yeah, please. We're not actually going to have a whole half an hour in here based on running things a bit late tonight. So go ahead and oh yeah, you were next. Never mind. She came from the other room. She's been waiting. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amber. I'm the mother of 4, and I actually have a question that's more related to how to talk to people about about these issues. So I've done a lot of reading over the past year after my last child had a more minor reaction, and then I realized that my other child actually has been having a lot of vaccine reactions and symptoms over the years that I didn't realize until the last one. So I've done lots and lots of reading. I get it, and we're not vaccinating anymore, but I don't know how to talk to others about it in my circles, just regular people. My brother-in-law just announced that he's going to have a baby, and I'm terrified that they're going to just follow doctor's orders. How would you go about talking to regular people?
Well, my personal thing is that
I just tell you just to tell your story. You can't really influence somebody else's decisions once their mind is made up and they become very defensive, especially if they're new parents, okay? But you can just tell your story. We had a vaccine reaction. Don't be surprised though if they really treat you like a pariah, because if your child had an antibiotic reaction, that is like, I really believe your story, but if your child has a vaccine reaction, you're suddenly a pariah. So it's just a shame of it, but it's true.
You might want to start with some things that are small, and you always want to tell your story. Never tell somebody else what to do. Don't judge them. Don't throw your judge on them. Don't tell them they're, being terrible mothers for vaccinating, because that's what they used to say. We're terrible mothers for not vaccinating, even though we saw our child stop breathing in front of us. We're still a terrible parent for not vaccinating anymore. So it's kind of like there are people on both sides just hammering each other. Really, you don't want to get yourself in that situation. You want to lead yourself in with information about you and what you know in your child. And when you give information to others, you want to make sure it's very credible sources. Cheryl Atkinson and interviews that she does are very credible sources. People pay attention to those. So you have to be very careful about what information you give. PubMed studies is what I've done on Facebook. I'll just put PubMed study. Don't do it PubMed linked to another, a site that's very strong one way or the other. Just the study, pull it out, tell them what you think it means. Especially stuff on Tylenol, you want to make sure that your brother knows never to give it those are the types of things. You start small in little bits of pieces, and you don't shove anything down anybody's throat, and respect them. Just say, this is what I'm doing, the reasons why, and I respect anything that you have, because that's all we can do for one another.
Amber, I would just add to that with what Marion and Allison said, that sadly, and I mean this, sadly, I was pro-vaccine until my child was injured. And then I did my research when it was too late. And sadly, that's how our community thinks, is that, they're safe. And so it's really hard to convince somebody. What happens in most cases is you end up with an injured child. When it's too late, then you do your research. So it's really hard to sell this, for lack of better words. It really, really is. But you can plant very small seeds, like what Allison and Mary are saying, and you can put it out there. And the more you put it out there, the more people it reaches, and it kind of snowballs. And we are a movement because of this snowball effect. 10 years ago, we wouldn't have filled 2 theaters. So it's becoming more and more, but it's definitely a gentle education. I would recommend, if you're on Facebook, there is a great group called Gentle Informants. It's run by a Massachusetts woman who's part of the Mass Coalition for Vaccine Choice, and it is so nicely done. It's not shoving anything down anybody's throat, because that's not what we're about. And I would say look into that and grab pieces from there, because it's really tough. It really is.
I just have to add, I wrote our story. Our story was published in Mothering Magazine in 2004. And it went viral back in the days when it was Yahoo groups. And it changed the paradigm that we knew at that time. Now, I'm not the first person to talk about a child recovered from autism. But for whatever reason, because the internet was starting to take off when it did, that story got shared. Well, I've heard from hundreds of families that it changed how they were looking at not just vaccines, but how to help their child to recover. So.
We're going to take a question up here.
Thanks. I appreciate all the efforts to pull this together, especially here in Boston, where we know the pharmaceutical industry is very strong. I'm really interested in strategy. Like, I know we all do our grassroots efforts, but it's similar to what Melissa said, is that it's very hard to talk to anyone, and to talk to anyone who doesn't have direct experience with this issue, to get them to come to watch a documentary. Nobody would come. So I'm just wondering what we can do here in Boston to get new people, to get everybody on board. And I'm also very heartened by the Nation of Islam cooperating down with the California group, with the CDC Truth. And I'm just wondering if we need to do some outreach here in Boston to the Nation of Islam that's being done. Like, what are the concrete strategy? Because I feel like, unfortunately, enough people have been injured now that it's, it has come a long way in 10 years. So
As far as religious people, I think everybody should go to their own pastors, their own, priests, their own, because they know you. Reaching out to big leaders, big groups from people you don't know because we might have something in common because of race or whatnot, I think that might be a little bit big of a stretch, and maybe that's something for Tony Muhammad to do rather than us. But for you or for all of us, those people that you know that are priests and ministers, those are the people you want to talk to. You want to, talk to them about injury and about these kids and how they are ignored. Once they're injured, they aren't studied. Once they're injured, there isn't a program to put them back on track. There's no, this child is regressing into autism. We need to immediately put them on seizure meds and anti-inflammatories, which is what my second neurologist would have done. Not that would have stopped it, but at least he had some sort of a protocol in place. We don't have any protocols in place, so these kids are forgotten. When we talk to our religious leaders about this sort of thing, they start to understand that this is a minority group. And